The bridge of the diplomatic vessel Morning Calm was quiet. Most of the crew had gone to sleep. Only 3 people remained at their posts, watching the endless stars pass by. Ambassador Taz sat in his chair, reading reports. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. Many aliens in the Galactic Alliance respected him for his calm words and fair deals. "Ambassador, we have something strange," said Officer Sun. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "A signal is coming from Sector 42B. Ta looked up from his reports. "Sector 42B. There's nothing there." "That's why it's strange, sir." Sun turned her chair to face him. "It's an SOS, a human distress call." Captain Jaiho stepped onto the bridge. His uniform was perfect, even at this late hour. "What's this about a signal?" Officer Sun played the message for them. It was weak and broken, but clear enough. "Colony ship Dakota. Under attack. Survivors. Need help." Static filled the gaps between words. Then the message repeated. "The Dakota." Taz's eyes widened. That ship disappeared 80 years ago. Jaiho frowned. It must be a trick, or a very old recording. "The signal is live, Captain," Sun said. She pointed to her screen. "And look at this code pattern. It's using old Earth military encryption. Whoever sent this knows human protocols." Ta stood up and walked to the viewing window. The stars seemed colder now. "We must check," he said. "Sir, Alliance rules say we should report this to headquarters first," Jaiho reminded him. This could be a trap. Tay turned to face the captain. "If humans are in danger, every minute matters. We will send a message to headquarters, but we will also change course." Jaiho nodded. He didn't argue. Ambassador Ta rarely gave direct orders, but when he did, they were always followed. "Officer Sun, set course for Sector 42B," Jaiho commanded. "And wake Engineer Yun. I want her to look at this signal." Engineer Yun didn't sleep much anyway. When they called her to the bridge, she had been working on the ship's power systems. Her hands were stained with black grease, and her short hair stuck up in all directions. "Play it again," she said, listening to the SOS message for the 3rd time. "What do you think?" Tai asked. Yun bit her lower lip. "The message is real, but there's more to it." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "See these data packets hidden in the background noise? They're coordinates." The screen filled with numbers. "Can you decode them?" Jaiho asked. "Already done." Yun pointed to a star map that appeared on the main screen. "It's pointing to a location deep in the uncharted zone, far beyond Sector 42B. Tai and Jaiho exchanged looks. "That's at least 2 weeks of travel," Jaiho said. "And we'd be the only Alliance ship out there." "We need to call for backup," Sun suggested. "The military vessel Hachi is patrolling nearby systems." Ta nodded. "Contact them immediately." On the military vessel Hachi, Lieutenant Han was in the middle of combat training when the call came. His body was covered in sweat, and he had just beaten 3 practice robots in hand-to-hand combat. "Lieutenant, the captain wants you on the bridge," said a voice over the speaker. Han grabbed a towel and wiped his face. "On my way." The Hachi was bigger than the Morning Calm. Its halls were filled with soldiers, all human. While the diplomatic ships had mixed crews, military vessels were still mostly human. Many alien species didn't trust humans with weapons. They called Earth a death world and viewed humans as dangerous. Captain Kang of the Hachi was reviewing the message from the Morning Calm when Han arrived. "We're being sent to investigate a distress call," Kang told him. "Ambassador Ta believes it's from human colonists." "In uncharted space?" Han asked. "That sounds like trouble." "That's why we're sending our best tactical team." Kang handed Han a datapad. "You leave in 1 hour." Han looked at the information. His heart beat faster. Something big was happening. He could feel it. Little did he know that this simple distress call would change everything the galaxy thought about humans. Lieutenant Han packed his gear quickly. As he worked, his mind went back to his grandfather's stories. Old Man Han had been there when aliens first came to Earth 150 years ago. It had not gone well. The aliens, calling themselves the Galactic Alliance, had been shocked by Earth. They called it a death world, a planet so dangerous that most species would die there within days. Earth's gravity was too strong. Its air had too much oxygen. Its temperature changed too much, and the animals, the aliens, couldn't believe humans lived with such killers. Your planet should not have intelligent life, the first alien ambassador had said. Species from Deathworlds rarely develop tools. They only learn to fight. Han's grandfather had been just a boy then. He remembered how the aliens treated humans, like wild animals that had somehow learned to talk. Han put his combat knife in its sheath. The aliens had been partly right. Humans were good at fighting, but they were wrong about everything else. Medical Officer Dag gathered her supplies on the HFY. She was young, but very smart. She had studied both human and alien bodies. Taking the full kit? Asked an older doctor. Day nodded. We don't know what we'll find out there. Just be careful, the older doctor said. Remember what happened on Station 9. Day frowned. 3 years ago, aliens on Station 9 had gotten sick. The human doctors tried to help, but 3 aliens died. The Alliance blamed human medicine. What they didn't say was that the humans had worked for 72 hours straight without sleep to save the others. No other species could have done that. We're stronger than they think, Day said quietly. Ambassador Taz sat in his office on the morning calm. On his screen was an old picture, Earth's first meeting with the Galactic Council. The human representatives looked small next to the tall, elegant aliens, but they stood straight and proud. Ta had spent his life building bridges between humans and aliens. It was hard work. Many aliens still feared humans. They said humans were too aggressive, too emotional, too unpredictable. Ambassador, Captain Jaho stood at the door. The HFY is ready. They will meet us at the edge of known space. Ta nodded. Tell me, Captain, do you think we're still seen as dangerous? Jaiho thought for a moment. Yes, but now they also respect us. On the HFY, Captain Kang briefed his crew. The ship's meeting room was full. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists all listened carefully. This mission is delicate, Kang said. If humans really have survived out there for 80 years, they've done it without Alliance help. They may not trust us. Lieutenant Han raised his hand. Sir, what if it's a trap? The Dakota disappeared before I was born, but everyone knows the story. It was carrying 5,000 colonists to a new world when it vanished. That's why we're sending our best, Kang said. Engineer Park spoke next. He was older than most of the crew. His hands were rough from years of fixing ships. The Dakota was not just any colony ship, Park said. It was carrying farmers, builders, teachers, but also soldiers. Earth was still nervous about alien contact. Many of those colonists had military training. The room was quiet as everyone thought about what that meant. If the colonists had survived, they might be very different now. As the 2 ships prepared to leave Alliance space, Lieutenant Han looked out a window at the stars. Humans had fought hard to be accepted by the Alliance. They had proven themselves again and again. They'd followed the rules, even when the rules seemed unfair. But deep down, Han knew the aliens were still afraid. They watched humans closely. They limited human weapons. They kept humans away from some planets. We're the monsters in their stories, Han's grandfather used to say. But sometimes, you need monsters to fight other monsters. Han wondered what monsters they would find out there, beyond known space, and he wondered if being a Deathworlder would finally be seen as a good thing. The HFY's engines roared to life. The journey had begun. The ship's morning calm and HFY traveled together for 5 days. They moved deeper into unknown space, following the strange coordinates from the SOS signal. On the 6th day, they gathered the mission team. They met in the HFY's big meeting room. 5 people sat around a table: Captain Jaiho, Engineer Yun, Medical Officer Da, Lieutenant Han, and Ambassador Ta. "These are the final plans," Captain Jaiho said. He showed a map on the big screen. "We'll reach the signal location in 8 more days. Engineer Yun will monitor the signal. Lieutenant Han will lead security. Medical Officer Dad will prepare for possible survivors. Ambassador Ta will handle any contact with unknown species." Lieutenant Han studied the map. "This area has never been mapped. What should we expect?" Engineer Yun pointed to strange readings on her datapad. "The space ahead is unusual. There are energy patterns I've never seen before." "Dangerous?" asked Jaiho. "Unknown," Yun replied. "But our ships can handle it." Ambassador Ta looked at each person. "Remember, if we find survivors, they've been alone for 80 years. They may have changed. They may have new rules, new ways of living." Everyone nodded. This would not be a simple rescue mission. On the 8th day, something hit the ships. What was that? Captain Jaiho grabbed his chair as the morning calm shook. Engineer Yun checked her screens. "Some kind of energy wave. It's messing with our systems." On the HFY, Lieutenant Han felt the same shake. Alarms rang throughout the ship. "Status report," he shouted. "Communications are down." A crew member answered. "We can't contact the morning calm." Han looked out the window. The other ship was still there, floating in space. It seemed fine, but they couldn't talk to each other. "Keep trying," Han ordered, "and check for damage." Medical Officer Da was busy. After the energy wave, 12 crew members felt sick. They had headaches and felt dizzy. "This is strange," Dad told Captain Jaiho on the morning calm. "Their blood shows signs of radiation, but not any kind I know." "Can you help them?" Jaiho asked. Day nodded. "I've given them medicine. They should feel better soon, but we should be careful. This space is not normal." For 3 more days, they traveled in silence. The communications stayed broken. The ships could see each other but not talk. Then, on the 12th day, Engineer Yun made a discovery. "Captain, look at this." Yun's voice was excited. She pointed to her screen. Captain Jaiho looked. The screen showed many small dots moving through space, paths of other ships. "Other ships have been here," Jaiho said, surprised. "Recently?" "Yes, and they all went to the same place." Yun pointed to a spot ahead, right where our coordinates point. Jaiho's face grew serious. "Ambassador Ta needs to see this." Ambassador Ta studied the ship paths. "This changes things. We're not just looking for survivors now. We may be walking into some kind of gathering place. Or a war zone," Lieutenant Han said. The security team had finally fixed a small communication line between the ships. "We should proceed with extreme caution," Tai agreed. On the 15th day, they'd reached their destination. Both ships slowed down. Everyone stared at the view screens in shock. "That's impossible," Engineer Yun whispered. Instead of empty space, they found an entire star system. A yellow sun burned bright in the center. Around it circled 6 planets and many moons. "How could this not be on any star map?" Captain Jaiho asked. Yun checked her instruments again and again. "It's like it's hidden somehow. The energy patterns we detected might be some kind of shield or cloak." The SOS signal was stronger now. It came from the 3rd moon of the 4th planet. "Life signs?" Jaiho asked. Yun nodded slowly. "Many. Some human, and some not human at all." Lieutenant Han checked his weapons. Ambassador Ta straightened his jacket. Medical Officer Dai packed her medical bag. The journey was over. The real mission was about to begin. The HFY landed first on the 3rd moon. Lieutenant Han led 20 soldiers out of the ship. They wore full armor and carried energy rifles. "Stay alert," Han ordered. "We don't know what's waiting for us." The moon had thin air that humans could breathe. Its surface was rocky with small plants growing between stones. In the distance stood tall mountains. The sky was dark purple with two gas giants visible above. Han's team moved carefully. They followed the signal to a large crack in the ground. It looked like a dried river bed, but it went deep into the moon's surface. "The signal is coming from down there," said a soldier, checking his device. Han nodded. "Let's go, but be ready for anything." They walked down into the crack. After half an hour, they found metal pieces in the ground, broken ship parts. "This is from the Dakota," Han said, looking at an old logo on a metal plate. "They crashed here." Further down, the crack opened into a wide valley. There, half buried in dirt, was the remains of a huge ship. It was the Dakota, or what was left of it. After 80 years, plants had grown over much of it. Parts had been removed and used elsewhere. "Look," a soldier pointed. "Structures." Around the ship were buildings made from ship parts and local materials. It was a small town, but it seemed empty. "Where is everyone?" Han wondered. Suddenly, a light flashed from one of the buildings. Then another. It was a signal. Han ordered his team to hold position. He used his communicator to call the morning calm. "Ambassador Tay, we found the colony ship and buildings, but no people yet. They're signaling us." "Try to make contact," Tay replied. "We'll join you soon." Han stepped forward and waved his arms. "We come from Earth. We received your SOS." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a door opened in one of the buildings. An old man walked out slowly. He had white hair and wore clothes made from strange materials. The old man stopped a safe distance away. "You're really from Earth." His voice was rough, like he didn't talk much. "After all this time?" "Yes," Han said. "I'm Lieutenant Han from the military vessel HFY. We're here to help." The old man laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You're about 80 years late, but we still need that help." More people came out of the buildings. Men, women, and children. They all looked tough and careful. Many had scars. "I'm Elder Kim," the old man said. "I was born here. My parents were on the Dakota when it crashed." "What happened?" Han asked. Elder Kim's face grew dark. "The ship was attacked. Something hit us as we entered this system. We crashed here. Half the people died. The rest built this place." By then, Ambassador Tay, Captain Jai-Ho, and the others had arrived. Ta stepped forward. "What attacked you? And why does this system not appear on any star maps?" "Come inside," Elder Kim said. "It's not safe to talk in the open." He led them to a large building. Once inside, Han was surprised to see how deep it went into the ground. It was mostly underground. "We live down here now," Elder Kim explained. "It's safer." In a large room, Elder Kim showed them a map of the star system. "This place is hidden by some kind of natural energy field. That's why it's not on your maps. The Dakota found it by accident." "And the attack?" Tai asked. "The Voidborn," Elder Kim said the word like it tasted bad. "They live in the shadows between stars. They hunt other species. They use their bodies, their parts." "For what?" Medical Officer Day asked, horrified. "To make themselves stronger. They take what they want from other species and add it to themselves." As if answering his words, alarm suddenly rang through the underground base. "They're coming," Elder Kim said calmly. "They always know when new ships arrive." Lieutenant Han checked his weapon. "How many?" "Just a scout ship this time, but more will follow." Han looked at his team. "Then we'll show them what happens when they attack humans." The battle was about to begin. The Voidborn scout ship landed on the moon's surface, not far from the human settlement. Lieutenant Han and his soldiers took positions around the colony buildings. "What do they look like?" Han asked Elder Kim as they watched from a hidden spot. "Like shadows with teeth," Elder Kim said. "They move fast. Normal weapons hurt them, but not much. The scout ship's door opened. Dark figures moved out. They were tall and thin with gray skin that seemed to swallow light. Their eyes glowed yellow. They had no mouths that hand could see, but their hands ended in long, sharp claws. "Fire," Han ordered. Energy blasts from human weapons hit the Voidborn. 2 fell, but 3 others moved with shocking speed toward the defenders. "They're faster than I remember," Elder Kim said, firing an old-style weapon that looked homemade. The battle was short but fierce. In the end, all 5 Voidborn lay dead, but 4 human soldiers were badly hurt. "Get them underground," Han ordered. More might come. Deep in the colony's underground rooms, Medical Officer Day treated the wounded soldiers. The cuts from Voidborn claws were deep and turning black at the edges. "I've never seen wounds like this," Daz said to Elder Kim. "What's happening to them?" "Voidborn poison," Elder Kim explained. "We have medicine. Made it ourselves." A young woman brought a green paste in stone bowls. Dai watched as they put it on the wounds. The blackness stopped spreading. "What is that?" Dai asked. "Made from local plants and something else," Elder Kim said. "Come, there's someone you should meet." Elder Kim led Ambassador Tai, Captain Jai-ho, and the others through a tunnel. It went deep under the ground. After walking for 10 minutes, they came to a heavy door with strange marks on it. Kim knocked in a pattern. The door opened. Inside was a large cave lit by glowing crystals, and there were people, but not humans. These beings were shorter than humans, with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. They had 4 arms each and moved with flowing grace. They wore simple clothes decorated with the same strange marks as on the door. "These are the Lumari," Elder Kim said. "They were already here when we crashed. They live inside the moon." A Lumari stepped forward. "I am Sora," she said in clear human words. "I speak for my people." Ta bowed deeply. "I am Ambassador Tai of Earth and the Galactic Alliance. We are honored to meet you." Sora's large eyes blinked. "Earth, the home world." She looked at Elder Kim. "Your people come at last." "The Lumari helped us survive," Kim explained. "They taught us about local plants, about the moon's weather, about the Voidborn." "And you taught us courage," Sora said. "Before humans came, we only hid from the Voidborn. Now we fight. Together, we've kept them from taking this moon," Kim added. "But it gets harder every year." "The medicine for the Voidborn poison," Day realized. "It's Lumari, isn't it?" Sora nodded. "Yes. Our bodies make it naturally. We showed humans how to mix it with plants." Engineer Yun looked around the cave with great interest. "These crystals, they give off light and heat. Amazing technology." "Not technology," Sora said. "Life. The crystals grow. We shape them with our thoughts." "You're telepathic?" Tai asked, surprised. "In a way," Sora said. "We feel life energy. We can guide it." Captain Jai-ho stepped forward. "Why did you choose a human name?" "Sora is a Korean name." The Lumari made a sound like soft bells, her laugh. "When humans came, we learned from each other. I like your names. They have good energy." Later, Engineer Yun worked with Lumari technicians to improve the colony's defenses. The Lumari showed her how their crystal technology could strengthen the human energy shields. This could work both ways. Yun told a Lumari named Bin, "Your crystals boost our technology, and our power systems can help your crystals grow faster." Bin's eyes widened. "Yes, we never thought to try that." Ambassador Ta watched them work. He turned to Elder Kim. "How bad is the Voidborn threat? Is it just this moon they want?" Kim's face grew dark. "No, they'd want everything. And they're getting ready for something big." "How big?" "The end of this whole star system," Kim said. "And then they'll go after the rest of the galaxy." Captain Jai-ho stood in the colony's command center, a room made from old ship parts and Lumari crystals. Large screens showed the space around the moon. One screen flashed red. "What's that?" Jai-Ho asked, pointing to the red dot. Elder Kim looked grim. "That's what we've been afraid of. The Voidborn mothership. It's coming." The red dot was huge, much bigger than the HFY or Morning Calm. Jai-Ho studied it closely. "How many Voidborn on that ship?" "Thousands," Kim said. "Maybe more." Lieutenant Han joined them. "Our weapons can't stop something that big." "No," Kim agreed, "but we have a plan. We've been working on it for years." Kim led them to a lower level where colonists were building weapons. Some looked like normal guns, but others were strange machines made from both human technology and Lumari crystals. "What are these?" Han asked, picking up one of the weapons. "We call them Void Killers," Kim explained. "They use Lumari crystal energy mixed with our own power cells. The Voidborn hate this energy. It hurts them more than normal weapons." Han tested the weapon's weight. "Can you make more?" "Enough for my soldiers." "Already working on it," Kim said. In another room, Lieutenant Han trained colonists and some Lumari volunteers. He showed them how to move as a team, how to cover each other, how to use the terrain for protection. "The Voidborn are fast and strong," Han told them. "But they attack like animals, not soldiers. They don't work together well. That's our advantage." A young colonist named Gil raised his hand. "We've been fighting them for years. They learn from their defeats. They get smarter." Han nodded. "Good point. So we need to surprise them. Do something they've never seen before." Han drew a map in the dirt floor. "We'll set traps here, here, and here. When they trigger the first trap, they'll run to what looks like safety. But it will be another trap." The colonists looked at each other. They started to smile. For the first time, they had real soldiers helping them. Ambassador Ta worked with Sora to modify the SOS beacon. The device now sat in the middle of the command center, surrounded by Lumari crystals. "It will broadcast on all frequencies now," Ta said. "If any ships from the Alliance are nearby, they'll hear it." "Will they come?" Sora asked. "Will they help us?" Ta looked uncertain. "I don't know. We're very far from Alliance space. But we have to try." Medical Officer Day made a surprising discovery. She had been studying the bodies of the Voidborn killed in the scout ship attack. "Look at this," she told Captain Jai-Ho, pointing to her medical screen. "The Voidborn have weak spots. Their bodies are strong, but their joints are soft, and their eyes are very sensitive to bright light." "That could help us," Jai-Ho said. "Anything else?" "Yes, they breathe differently than us. They take in air through their skin. If we could make some kind of poison gas." Jai-Ho nodded. "Talk to Kim and the Lumari. See what they can do." That night, Lieutenant Han and a small team snuck out to the surface. They moved quietly toward the crash site of the Voidborn scout ship. "What are we doing here?" whispered a soldier. "Getting information," Han replied. He carefully entered the damaged ship, avoiding sharp metal edges. Inside, Han found what he was looking for, the ship's control panel. He took out a small device Engineer Yun had given him and connected it to the Voidborn controls. "Copying their data," he explained. "If we can understand their ships, we can fight them better." Suddenly, a noise came from outside. Han and his team froze. "More Voidborn?" a soldier asked, raising his weapon. Han looked out through a crack in the ship's hull. He saw 3 dark shapes moving across the moon's surface. "Yes, another scout team. They're checking on their lost ship." Han touched his communicator. "Base, we have company. 3 Voidborn heading toward the scout crash site. We're inside." "Can you take them?" came Elder Kim's voice. Han looked at his team. They nodded. "Yes," Han said, "but quietly. We don't want to alert the mothership that we're ready for them." Han readied his weapon. The Voidborn were getting closer. The real war was about to begin. The Voidborn mothership appeared in the sky 3 days later. It was huge, bigger than 10 normal ships put together. It hung above the moon like a dark cloud. Smaller ships flew out from it, like angry insects from a nest. "They're starting to land," Captain Jaiho said, watching the screens in the command center. "At least 30 scout ships." Elder Kim nodded. More than ever before, they know something is different this time. Lieutenant Han had successfully taken down the 3 Voidborn scouts at the crash site. His team had escaped with important information from the scout ship. Now Han stood with Engineer Yun as she studied the stolen data. "Their ships use a strange energy," Yun said. "Not like anything in the Alliance. It's like they eat darkness somehow." "Can we use that against them?" Han asked. Yun smiled slightly. "Maybe. If we can make a device that overloads their power systems." "Do it," Han said. "We need every advantage." On the surface, the first battles had already begun. Voidborn scouts attacked the old colony buildings, not knowing most people now lived underground. Human and Lumari fighters waited in hidden positions, using the Void Killer weapons. The weapons worked well. When hit by the crystal energy, the Voidborn seemed to shrink, like air leaving a balloon. But there were so many of them. "Pull back to position 2, shouted Gil, the young colonist who had trained with Han. His team moved quickly to a new hiding spot as dozens of Voidborn swarmed over their old position. The plan was working. Let the Voidborn think they were winning. Lead them into the traps. Medical Officer Dai had created something new. She showed it to Captain Jaho and Ambassador Ta. "It's a gas," she explained, "made from local plants and Lumari medicine. It doesn't hurt humans or Lumari, but it should make the Voidborn skin burn." "Should?" Tai asked. "We haven't tested it," Dai admitted, "but the science is sound." Jaiho looked at the containers of gas. "How do we use it?" "We need to release it when many Voidborn are in one place," Dai said. "The vents near the old landing pad would be perfect." "That's dangerous," Jaiho said. "Who will set it up?" Dai stood straight. "I will." Lieutenant Han led a special mission. With 5 soldiers and 3 Lumari, he took a small ship toward the Voidborn mothership. They flew carefully, using the moon's mountains to hide their approach. "The mothership has a weak spot," Han explained. Ian found it in the data. "Their main power core isn't well protected." "Can we destroy it?" asked a soldier. Han shook his head. "No, it's too big. But we can learn more about it. Maybe find a way to hurt it later." Their small ship reached the dark side of the moon. From here, they could see the mothership clearly. It was black with strange purple lights along its sides. Parts of it seemed to disappear and reappear, like it wasn't fully in normal space. "There," Han pointed to a smaller opening on the side. "We can dock there. It looks like a service entrance." The ship moved closer. No alarm sounded. The Voidborn didn't see them. "Remember," Han told his team, "we go in quiet. We take pictures and readings. We place Ian's sensors. Then we leave. No fighting unless we have to." The ship docked softly against the mothership. Han checked his Void Killer weapon. This was the most dangerous mission yet, but it had to be done. They needed to know what they were facing. Back at the colony, a captured Voidborn was brought to the command center. It was held in a special cage made with Lumari crystals. The crystals kept it weak. Ambassador Tai approached the cage carefully. "Can it understand us?" Elder Kim nodded. "They learn languages quickly. They've learned ours over the years." Ta stood before the cage. The Voidborn's yellow eyes watched him coldly. "Why are you attacking this moon?" Tai asked. The Voidborn made a hissing sound. Then it spoke in a dry, whispery voice. "Food. You eat other species?" Tai asked, horrified. "Not eat. Become." The Voidborn stretched one clawed hand toward Ta. "Take what is useful. Become stronger." "We are not resources," Ta said firmly. "We are living beings with rights." The Voidborn made a sound like breaking glass. It was laughing. All is resource, it said. All will be voidborn. Starting here. Then all stars. Taz stepped back, his face pale. Now he understood. This wasn't just a battle for one moon. It was a fight for the survival of all species. The next day, the real attack began. Hundreds of voidborn ships landed on the moon's surface. Thousands of dark figures poured out and moved toward the colony. They found the underground entrances. Jill shouted into his communicator. His team fought hard at the main door, but there were too many enemies. In the command center, Captain Jai-Ho watched as red dots covered the screens. "We need to seal the lower levels," he ordered. "Protect the children and those who can't fight." Elder Kim nodded. "Sora, take your people to the crystal caves. They'll be safest there." Sora shook her head. "No, we fight too. This is our home." Outside, the battle grew worse. The Void Killer weapons worked well, but for every Voidborn that fell, 3 more took its place. Step by step, the defenders were pushed back into the underground tunnels. Lieutenant Han's team had returned from the mothership with valuable information. They gathered in a small room with Engineer Yun and Captain Jai-Ho. "The mothership has a central command room," Han explained, showing pictures they had taken. "All orders come from there. If we could somehow reach it." "Impossible," Jai-Ho said. "We don't have enough ships or weapons to attack the mothership directly." "Maybe we don't need to," Yun said. She had been studying the sensor data. "The mothership uses a special signal to control the smaller ships. If we could copy that signal and change it, we could confuse them," Han finished. "Make them fight each other." Jai-Ho looked thoughtful. "How long would it take?" "Too long," Yun admitted. "Days, maybe. And we don't have days." Medical Officer Day ran through the tunnels with 2 colonists. They carried the gas containers. Behind them, they could hear the hissing cries of Voidborn. "This way," Day said. They reached the old vents near the landing pad. Many Voidborn were gathered there, preparing to enter the tunnels. "Set the timers," Day ordered. 3 minutes, then run." They placed the containers and started the timers. But as they turned to leave, 5 Voidborn appeared in their path. "Go," Dai shouted to the colonists. She fired her Void Killer weapon, hitting 2 Voidborn. The colonists ran past as the enemies fell. But 3 Voidborn still stood. They moved toward Dai with terrible speed. She fired again and again, backing up. 1 more fell. Then her weapon stopped working. The 2 remaining Voidborn reached for her with clawed hands. Dai closed her eyes, ready to die. A roar filled the tunnel. Lieutenant Han appeared with 3 soldiers. They fired their weapons, and the Voidborn dropped to the ground. "Run." Han grabbed Dai's arm. The gas. They sprinted away from the vents. Behind them, the containers opened with a loud hiss. Green gas filled the landing pad area. The Voidborn there began to make terrible screaming sounds. Their skin bubbled and melted. "It worked," Dai said, breathing hard. "It really worked." In another part of the colony, Elder Kim led a counterattack. He knew every tunnel, every corner of the place he had called home all of his life. He led the Voidborn into narrow passages where they had to come one at a time. There, the defenders could pick them off more easily. "We've lived with fear for 80 years, Kim told his fighters. "Today, we make the Voidborn fear us." The colonists fought with a fury that surprised even Lieutenant Han's trained soldiers. These people had spent their lives preparing for this battle. They used their knowledge of the tunnels to trap and confuse the enemy. In the command center, Ambassador Ta did something unexpected. He connected a camera to the modified SOS beacon. "What are you doing?" Jai-Ho asked. "Sending proof," Ta said. "The Alliance needs to see what's happening here. They need to see humans and Lumari fighting together. They need to see the Voidborn threat." The camera showed humans and Lumari standing side by side against the darkness. It showed their bravery, their determination, their refusal to surrender. And somewhere, In the vastness of space, someone was watching. For 3 days, the battle raged throughout the colony. The defenders fought room by room, tunnel by tunnel. They used every trick, every weapon they had. But they were losing. "We can't hold much longer," Lieutenant Han told Captain Jeho. Both men were tired. They had not slept in days. "We've lost the upper levels. Soon they'll reach the crystal caves." Jeho nodded grimly. "How many fighters do we have left?" "Maybe 200. The Voidborn still have thousands." In the medical area, Dai worked without rest. Wounded humans and Lumari filled every space. She had run out of medicine hours ago. Now she used strips of clothing for bandages. "Keep fighting," she told a hurt colonist. "Help is coming." But even Dai didn't believe that anymore. In the lowest level, Ambassador Ta sat with Elder Kim and Sora. They had made a last plan. "If we overload the colony's old power core, it will explode," Kim explained. "It won't destroy the mothership, but it might damage enough of their forces to let some of our people escape." "How many could get away?" Tai asked. "Maybe 50, Kim said. "In the small ships. The children, mostly." Sora's large eyes were sad. "We always knew this day might come. We prepared for it." Ta looked at the screens. The SOS beacon still broadcast images of the battle to space. But no one had answered. "Keep the signal going as long as possible," Ta said. "Even if just to tell our story." On the front lines, Kill and his team held a narrow tunnel. Bodies of Voidborn lay piled before them, but more kept coming. "Last power cell," a fighter said, holding up his empty weapon. Gil nodded. "Make it count." They were ready to die fighting. Like true humans, like Deathworlders. Then Gil's communicator made a sound. It was Elder Kim's voice, but he sounded different. Excited. "All fighters, look up, look up." Gil didn't understand until the tunnel shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. It sounded like thunder, but they were underground. "What's happening?" he asked into his communicator. Han's voice answered. "Alliance ships. Dozens of them. They're attacking the mothership." In space above the moon, 23 ships from the Galactic Alliance had arrived. They had received Ta's broadcast. They had seen the truth about the Voidborn threat, and they had come to help. The Alliance ships fired at the mothership. Their weapons tore into its dark hull. The smaller Voidborn ships tried to protect it, but they were outmatched. On the largest Alliance ship, Admiral Park watched the battle. When he had seen Ta's broadcast, he had gathered every ship he could find. The Alliance Council had not officially approved this mission. But Park didn't care. "Humans are under attack," he had told his captains. "We go." In the colony, the Voidborn suddenly began to retreat. Without orders from their mothership, they became confused. Some still fought, but others ran back to their ships. Han and his soldiers pushed forward, taking back tunnels and rooms they had lost. The colonists and Lumari joined them, finding new strength. "They're running," Jill shouted, chasing Voidborn through the upper levels. 3 hours later, it was over. The mothership had exploded in a blast of purple fire. The remaining Voidborn ships had flowed into deep space. In the colony's main hall, humans from Earth met with the colonists and Lumari. Admiral Park shook hands with Elder Kim. "You held out for 80 years, Park said with respect. "I don't know if I could have done that." Kim smiled tiredly. "We did what we had to do. Humans are good at that." Ambassador Ta stood with Sora, watching the reunion. "The Alliance will be different now," he told her. "They've seen what the Voidborn can do, and they've seen what humans and Lumari can do together. Will they fear us less?" Sora asked, "now that they've seen Deathworlders fight." "No," Ta said honestly. "They may fear us more, but they will also respect us more, and they will need us." 1 week later, 300 Alliance ships patrolled the hidden star system. Engineers worked to understand and copy the natural energy field that had kept the system hidden for so long. Captain Jeho met with Admiral Park on the morning comm. "We're establishing a permanent base here," Park said. "The first joint human-Lumeri Alliance installation. It will protect against any voidborn return." "And the colonists?" Jeho asked. "Any who wish to return to Earth can do so, but most want to stay. This is their home." Jeho nodded. He understood. These people had built something special here, something worth fighting for. Lieutenant Han stood with Engineer Yun, watching new Alliance ships arrive. "They're calling it the Deathworlder Protocol," Han said. "Admiral Park told me. From now on, when the Alliance faces unknown threats, humans will be the first call to help."